I'm pretty sure Shakespeare had plagiarized the story Pyramus and Thisbe because of how much he liked the story. I mean, the story is not that bad, and I'm sure it was an excellent story around his time. It's easy to show that he plagiarized the main idea. The story of Pyramus and Thisbe has two young lovers. Sounds like another story. Romeo and Juliet. It's clear why it was very popular. It's Shakespeare's most famous play. The story did really well because it relates to a very popular feeling. Love. Love's the story's most dominant and most important theme. People around the world can relate to this. You can. I can. Shakespeare had to use the story of Pyramus and Thisbe and shape it into a story that everyone can love and enjoy. I'm sure that's why Shakespeare did this. There are even examples around the world of Romeo and Juliet today. In some cultures around the world, some families have the parents decide who their children marry. The child does not even decide. Isn't that crazy? This is a great example of Romeo and Juliet. It's just like the story because Juliet's father decided that she has to marry Paris. There's also a great example of real life because some people jump right into decisions rather than think about what's going on. This is represented by Juliet going with the plan Friar Lawrence made without thinking about the time, date, or telling Romeo as fast as possible. This resulted in the ending we all know what happened. Miscommunication was the main issue that happened in the story and in real life.
Pyramus and Thisbe is a tragic Greek tale that outlines the downfall of two lovers. The story begins with Pyramus and Thisbe, whose families forbid them from marrying due to a rivalry. However, they quickly learn that they live right next to each other and can communicate through a crack in the wall. Over time, the two grow to love each other more and more. That is, until one day they decide to meet under a mulberry tree, defying their parents' wishes. Thisbe arrives first, but is frightened off by a lioness, mouth bloodied from a recent kill. But in her haste she left behind her cloak, and when Pyramus arrives, he sees nothing but a bloodied and tattered cloak which he presumed to be what's left of Thisbe. In his grief, he decides to kill himself using his own blade, stating the mulberry leaves dark red. And when Thisbe recovers from her scare, she goes back to the mulberry tree, expecting to find her lover waiting for her, but instead finds him dead. In turn, she kills herself, putting an end to the tragic tale of Pyramus and Thisbe. Pyramus and Thisbe was written in 8 AD by Ovid. This story is even featured in his 15-volume epic titled The Metamorphosis. Pyramus and Thisbe show up again in Shakespeare's Act 5 of A Midsummer's Night Dream, where a group of acclaimed local craftsmen perform the ancient Greek tragedy at a wedding reception. Of course, they are terrible at it for comedic effect. The original story of Pyramus and Thisbe is set in the 9th century BC in Babylon during the reign of the Samuramat. Surprisingly, this can also be considered a bit of a creation myth as well. It is said that when Pyramus kills himself, his blood stains the white mulberry leaves dark red, and when Thisbe does the same, the gods take pity on her, and from then on, the fruit of mulberry trees grows dark and red. Samuramat?
There are even examples around the world of Romeo and Juliet today. In some cultures around the world, some families have the parents decide who... That voice crack. Oh, it sounds terrible. There are even examples around the world of Romeo and Juliet today. In some cultures around the world, some families have their parents decide who the children marry. The child does not decide. I need to get better with that. There are even examples around the world of Romeo and Juliet today. In some cultures around the world, some families have the parents decide who their children marry. The child does not even decide. Why do I mess up with decide? It's decide, not desire.
The theme of Pyramus and Thisbe is almost the exact same as its The theme of Pyramus and Thisbe is almost the exact same as its successor. The theme of Pyramus and Thisbe is almost the exact same as its... How many times am I going to screw this up?